Hello and welcome to the second episode of Force Proximity. I am Jonathan,
And I'm Megan.
and this week's book is Rafe. But before we get into that, we have some things we need to take care of.
Like our trivia question
The
for
trivia
Jonathan.
question for me. And we're also going to get into things that let you know about us a little bit.
Hmm.
So we'll do a little bit each episode.
Okay.
And this week will be our top 5 favorite TV shows.
For each of us or both watching together?
For each of, we can do each of us and together.
Okay, we'll see how much time we have. Because I can talk about some shows.
Well, we'll just name them.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay. So for our trivia question for Jonathan,
Okay.
and for you sports fans that are not listening, which team has the highest total wins in the FBS? That okay, you know what FBS is, right?
Alabama.
Is it A, Notre Dame, B, Ohio State, C, Alabama, or D, Michigan?
Alabama. Are you?
It's not Notre Dame. It's not Ohio State. It's not Alabama.
Oh, Michigan.
It's Michigan, yeah.
Go blue. Okay.
If you guessed the Michigan Wolverines, you are correct.
And you lied.
What?
And you're also a liar because you didn't guess that.
Who? What?
You said if you guessed
I'm
the
reading
Michigan.
the answer.
Not you.
Oh.
It said you said if you guessed the Michigan Wolverines, you were correct.
Oh, and
and
you're
I
saying...
said you're a liar because you didn't guess that. To whoever's listening out there.
Oh, yeah. Because nobody would guess Michigan
No.
over Alabama.
They would probably be the 13 people voted.
Behind them are Notre Dame, Nebraska, Ohio State, and Alabama.
Okay. So Alabama is the fourth most.
Yeah.
But they have the most
No,
national
the
titles.
fifth most.
Who's?
The fifth most. Nebraska's the third most, apparently.
Yeah, Alabama has more national titles.
Okay.
So that doesn't matter. All right. You got me. Good job.
Yay!
Good job.
And
All
I
right,
learned
so
something new.
You did. So did I. Top 5 favorite shows. I'll let you go first on this one.
Of all time?
I think we're going to have some crossovers here.
Oh, gosh.
For
Well,
you
not
and
the
I.
first one. My first favorite show ever is Northern Exposure. And it needs to come back on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime because nobody in our generation knows the brilliance of Northern Exposure, and they need to. But it's not on any streaming service. But I have all the DVDs, and they're really cute because they came packaged in a sleeping bag,
Yeah.
which I threw away.
Yeah, we threw all of our cases for DVDs, and now we don't even watch DVDs. Sometimes we do, but
The only thing I can watch is Northern Exposure because you can't stream it.
yeah.
So, okay, number 2.
So you started from number 1.
Well, that's my very first favorite.
Okay.
That's like set apart. I really have one favorite show of all time, and it's Northern Exposure.
Okay.
But I also like The Newsroom. I really loved that.
With Jeff Daniels?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, I should have prepared for this because I know I'm gonna forget
I told you
like
we were doing
some
it.
of my real favorites.
Okay.
All right, you can just
No, you got to do
let's-
your 5 and I'll
oh,
do my
gosh.
5.
I liked True Blood, but it's a little.
You like True Blood up
I
until a
liked
point.
True Blood seasons 1 through 3,
Yeah.
possibly 4. After they started going nuts with the phase, I was out of it, and I do not like shapeshifters
Yeah.
beyond werewolves. I
And
can't.
that guy turned into a were-panther.
I
That
cannot
was about it.
handle. I cannot handle shifters that turn into panthers. No. What else do I like? I, uh, True Detective season 1 especially. I really loved that. I like specific aspects of different shows.
So that's 4.
Okay, and I guess The Crown.
The Crown. So you had Northern Exposure, Newsroom, True Blood, True Detective,
Mm-hmm.
and The Crown.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are
We
yours?
didn't have any crossovers.
No.
All right. My favorite shows. I don't in no particular order.
Okay.
Scrubs,
Yeah.
Frasier,
Yeah.
The Office,
Mm. Okay.
Parks and Rec,
Mm-hmm.
and The Last Kingdom.
Oh yeah, Last Kingdom. Good. So comedy, 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 Vikings.
Vikings.
Which is, yeah, that's like how you like your life to be.
All
Comedy,
NBC
comedy,
comedies
Vikings.
as well.
Oh. Well, I like Frasier.
All right. So together, I think Last Kingdom is something we like to. I don't know if you liked it. We
No, it's
watched,
not one of my top 5
but we liked
crossovers.
it. But I mean, together.
Yeah, we liked it together.
Uh, Maisel, we like together.
Yes, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel we both like.
What else do we like together? Game of Thrones, we like together.
Yep. Kind of Outlander, but that's more my thing than your thing.
Yeah. I don't dislike Outlander, but I wouldn't say that I look. I am looking forward to it. So yeah, I do like it.
Yeah.
All right. That's enough nonsense for now.
And we both like Frasier.
We do both like Frasier. Okay. So let's get into the book.
Okay.
Full disclosure, Megan is the talent in all of this. I'm just here reading the book so I know what she's talking about.
I'm not the talent
She
at
takes
all.
she takes the notes, very good notes
No, very disorganized notes.
compared to my non-existent notes.
Right?
But I'll let her break it down and I'll chime in when I see fit.
Ay, ay, ay. Rafe.
Rafe.
A Buff Male Nanny. Loose Ends Book 1. And it's by Rebekah Weatherspoon. And I think I liked Rebekah Weatherspoon as soon as I heard about her because the name Witherspoon is a family name on my dad's side of the family. So I feel like a kinship with her. So I'm going to start out by reading Amazon's synopsis of the book so you all get a sense of what this book is about. All Dr. Sloane Copeland needed was someone to watch her kids. What she found was the man of her dreams. After a nasty divorce and a 1,000-mile move, Dr. Sloane Copeland and her twin daughters are finally getting the hang of their new life in Los Angeles. When their live-in nanny bails with no warning, Sloane is left scrambling to find a competent caretaker to wrangle her smart, sensitive girls. Nothing less will do. Enter Rafe Whitcomb. He's all of those things, not to mention good-natured and one heck of a whiz in the kitchen. He's also tall and handsome and bearded and ripped and tatted wrist to neck. It doesn't take long for the Copelands to invite Rafe into their home. Just as quickly, both Sloane and Rafe find themselves succumbing to a heady mutual attraction neither of them wants to deny. With every minute they spend under the same roof, this working mom can't help but wonder if Rafe can handle all her needs. This standalone romance is fluffy. So fluffy. It's fluff. Low angst fluff. Featuring a large, tatted, motorcycle-riding ginger man who bakes a mean bacon quiche and knows exactly how to wrangle clever 6-year-olds while making their mom feel loved, loved, loved. I think that's a quote from a reviewer.
Okay.
So, first of all, the cover of this book is this dude who has an anatomical heart tattooed on his neck. He's wearing a black V-neck shirt. He's a white guy with ginger hair, ginger beard. He looks a little like Ulysses S. Grant. Which is not very attractive to me, which was kind of a turnoff. When everybody was reading this book last year, I was kind of like skeeved out by it. Plus, I didn't want to read about a male nanny because it's not my trope that I like. But this is the cinnamon roll book.
Yes.
So that's one of the reasons I wanted to read that first in your romance reading career, Jonathan, is so that
Among the first.
Well, right.
Yeah.
The first was a book that I was pretty sure we were both going to like.
Yeah.
The second was, okay, now we're going to like dive a little bit deeper into what romance means.
Romance as far as
the genre.
the industry. Like,
It's romance as far as the genre, the writers, and the readers.
yeah, the writing industry.
I wouldn't call it an industry, though. I mean, because I think people hold it so close to their hearts. I think industry sort of depersonalizes it a little bit too much. Anyway,
Okay.
that doesn't matter. So,
Splitting hairs.
yeah, I'm good at that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to read this because Rafe is considered sort of the ultimate cinnamon roll hero in a romance.
Okay.
We're going to break that down to what that means. So there's this really amorphous spectrum of what male romance characters are. And it's like on one end you have alpha, on the other end you have beta slash gamma, and the other, in sort of in the middle somewhere, kind of on its own spectrum, you have the cinnamon roll, which I think I read mostly cinnamon roll characters without knowing it, and I thought some of them were alphas, but they're hard to describe, and like Jonathan hates these terms because
I do. I hate them. I hate labels like this because in different situations, you could be an alpha or a beta. But again, I have a different definition of alpha and beta, which I hate. Where my definitions come from, which is like jocks and all the bro stuff.
yeah,
Where in different situations you could be an alpha or a beta, and depending on your new or something. And just because you're confident doesn't necessarily mean you're an alpha, because you might not know everything you need to know. Being confident helps. Doesn't mean you won't mess something up though.
mm-hmm. But it's when you mess something up, it's how you own that mistake. What it
Well, that's the confidence
I'm
part.
reminded of Eddie Izzard
Yeah.
when his in his Dress to Kill set,
Yes.
the joke about, well, what is it? You know what I'm talking about. When you break a vase at a party and you own up to it.
Yeah.
That's a total cinnamon roll characteristic.
He was talking about how when we were kids we lied our asses off.
Oh no, I didn't break that
But
vase.
then when you get older, you just tell the truth.
Yeah, and you're a stud for it.
Yeah.
So people look up to you because you told the truth.
And then he went on the bit breaking other things.
Yeah.
I broke that and I threw the cat out the window.
Yeah, it's really funny. If you ever get a chance to watch Dress to Kill, you should. So we call this the Cinnamon Roll book. Everybody calls it the fluff book. We'll get into, okay, and I'm calling it SFNA. That's our new category. Straight fluff, no angst. A fluff piece is a piece that doesn't have angst, and I think you are going to really appreciate that, the fluff pieces. It doesn't mean that it's not an important work of art.
It's actually one of the things I appreciated the most about this book was there was no, like, the dark soul of night. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
That wasn't... It was in there, but it had nothing to do with the two main characters.
Right. So it doesn't have a fluff piece by essentially has no, they're not tormented.
Yes.
By should they or should they not be together. There's no question. And I'll say they questioned whether or not they should or should not be together, but they dealt with it so responsibly. Yeah. They dealt with it like two adults who can talk honestly about their feelings and communicate well.
Well, it seemed Rafe seemed like he could do that, communicate well, and she just didn't have time for games.
Exactly.
So she just laid it out.
She's a cardiothoracic surgeon with 6-year-old twins.
Yeah, and she's like 21 years old.
She's 28. But yeah.
She's Doogie Howser.
Yes.
Essentially.
She is. So Dr. Sloane Copeland comes home to her 6-year-old girls, and they are not... What's the word when an adult is supposed to be around?
It's called supervised.
Yes, they are unsupervised, and they shouldn't have been. And she finds out her nanny Tess has quit, that jerk.
Just left, up and quit.
She's left. She handed the girls a piece of paper
Put on some
saying
Doc
she's
McStuffins and said,
yeah, and said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want a nanny. I'm I'm moving out of the house and I'm just like quitting halfway through the workday. So that's just what that is like. Oh my gosh, what is she gonna do? She needs a new nanny ASAP. She's a big important surgeon. Heart valves need to be replaced left and right, and she doesn't know what she's gonna do with her crazy girls. Enter Rafe Whitcomb. He is in his dad's garage. He needs a job because the family that he used to nanny for just left and moved to Australia, and they wanted him to come with him, but he is kind of having issues with being a male nanny. He doesn't know that he wants to do that for the rest of his life. He's thinking he probably wants his own life, his own family at some point, and
yeah.
he's not going to find that in Australia.
It always interfered with his love life.
Yeah, because he has 2 days off a week or 1 day off a week, but he's pretty much there with the family
Exactly.
anyway.
Exactly right.
Because he's a really great nanny. Everybody wants him for a nanny. So he's talking to his dad, who's from Woburn, Massachusetts,
Where your family is
where
from.
my family is. Well, my family's from Wilmington, which is the town next door, but I just went to a funeral parlor in Woburn, Massachusetts, and it was pretty awesome. Although they did not allow coffee, and I thought that was pretty irresponsible of them. Um,
Good Lord. No tangents. Let's
I'm
go.
hiding behind my screen. Anyway, I really like Woburn. It's a really cute small town, and there's Dunkin' Donuts on every corner.
Well,
So,
it's
yay, Woburn.
mass donkeys everywhere.
So he's talking to his Woburn, Massachusetts uh, dad,
His
who,
father.
yeah, who drinks nothing but beer and Mountain Dew.
Store brand Mountain Dew.
Store brand Mountain Dew. What is it called? Something
black
lightning.
coffee.
Yeah. So this is the setup for his cinnamon roll goo. So we're going to start to see what a cinnamon roll is because Rafe defines it. So I'm going to let his words and Rebekah Weatherspoon's words define what it means to be a cinnamon roll. Next, we have the catalyst or the meet cute in a romance novel. And that happens at McDonald's. So that's not much of a meet cute. It's more of a meet gross because I am just envisioning dried ketchup and nasty kids' germs covering everything. They're there to meet on a.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second.
Okay.
What was the point of saying the whole Woburn thing?
What
You
do you
said
mean?
he was in the garage with his dad.
They
And it
bring
meant
up the fact several times that they're from Woburn.
that's all?
Yes, I loved it because I've been there.
It added nothing.
No, it added.
Okay, it's
So you're kind of thinking of him like a blue collar woman guy, like that. It's characterization for both of them. Like the dad is even more blue
you have
collar.
to say that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought that was just known to me.
In your head.
In my head, it was obvious. Obviously. So okay, so we're at McDonald's. There's ketchup smeared everywhere, and it's dried from like
Why are we at McDonald's?
5 weeks ago. Okay, well you can jump in
We're at McDonald's
because Dr. Sloan Copeland needed a neutral place to meet the nanny and have him meet her children because he might be a serial killer after all.
Yes. And her friend who works at the school
Vouched for him. So we meet at McDonald's, and immediately they both start to have sex thoughts in this grubby booth.
Like immediately.
Yeah, immediately. Like his first thought when he looked.
As soon as he walked in the door.
Yes. Was that she's a smoke show. How do her patients not just have heart attacks left and right because she is so hot, and Rafe's voice sounds like Sex on a Biscuit, which is gross. I just don't like. I okay, so here's what, like, another thing. This is what made me think I don't think these things when I meet somebody like who's pretty. Like, I think, oh, that person's facial features are arranged pleasingly. And that's it. That's like the extent. Like, I don't think, like, I don't start imagining like graphic sex with these people. And I couldn't imagine that anyone does. And I looked it up.
Well, kidding.
Because according to the Kinsey report, 54% of men think about sex one or several times a day. Not all the time. Like, I was always told that it happened. Like, men thinks about sex constantly. 43% think about sex a few times a week. So almost half of men, these men that are supposed to be like have sex thoughts lurking in their brains at all hours, all minutes of every hour, they're not. Like, almost half of men are only thinking about sex a few times a week, and it's probably when they lay down with their wives or girlfriends or partner, whatever. So I don't know. I just can't.
I told you my pie chart of what's going on in my head.
Yeah.
Half of it is food. And when I can eat it.
Yeah.
A third of it is Florida State, New York Rangers, New York Giants. A sliver of it is work. And then even smaller sliver is sex.
Oh, well, I think half of what's going on in my brain is sex, but it's not like sex that I want to have. It's like, what does sexuality mean? What does attraction mean? Because I write these things and I describe women's body parts when I'm writing, and I describe these things, so I have to do research on them, and so I think very cerebrally about how people are having sex, but it's not like it doesn't ever translate into, like, for me.
All right, so we're at McDonald's. It's essentially a job interview. Rafe meets the girls. The girls take to him because
he's awesome.
Because he's cool. He's got a motorcycle, a Ducati motorcycle, which I guess is a good motorcycle.
It's a really good motorcycle.
I'm not a gearhead.
I always wanted a Ducati.
I don't like cars. I've had 2 trucks my whole life, and I'm planning on driving this one into the ground. I'm not a car guy. They said Ducati means nothing to me. I'm just assuming it's nice.
Yeah. I didn't think it fit him.
I imagine someone like that would probably have more like a
Harley fat boy,
or like those Orange County the chopper kind of thing.
Yeah, he seems more like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't picture him driving a Ducati, but a Ducati sort of like elevates him into more like, it makes him a little bit more elegant. I think.
A little more. It's like the Fraser of motorcycles.
Yes, the Ducati is a Fraser of motorcycle. But he has the low end Ducati, so it's still like
the low end Ducati, which is probably what, $50,000.
Yeah, I don't know. It's what I always thought I would buy, except I'm 5'0" and could never ride it. So there goes that. I'm a car person and a motorcycle person. And I don't have a good one of either. So
after at McDonald's, he pretty much...
Wait. At McDonald's, he pulls up on the Ducati. We also meet the 6-year-old twins, who are real kids. And it's really cool.
Avery and Addison?
Yes.
What their names?
But it's really cool that Rebekah Weatherspoon must really know kids, because...
Yeah, she nailed kids on this one.
She really did, yeah. Jonathan's a teacher, and he teaches this age range.
Yeah, kindergarten to 8th grade, so...
And the kids are really cute, and they do weird kid things, like say things out of the blue and stare.
Yes.
and break the rules, but hyper focus on some other things. So they're really, the kids are actually um, they're dynamic characters. We'll just say that.
I liked the girls.
So second cinnamon roll nest, he carries a just in case nanny kit in
Oh
his
ho ho ho.
Ducati
Oh ho ho ho. With a bathing suit in it.
with a bathing suit and a towel, yeah, and probably some other stuff for his, like, just in case he happens upon some children that need some swimming.
Well, they live by the beach.
Okay, yeah,
It's Southern California.
yeah.
So, I could see that.
But he is prepared. He's
He is
ready.
it
He's
just
a
shows
Boy
that
Scout.
he's ready to go in all situations. So,
Yeah,
just another check mark.
for cinnamon rolls.
Well, and on the job interview,
Yeah.
just shows that he's prepared and he can take good care of the girls. If he's this prepared all the time just for no reason,
Mhm.
what's he going to do when he has a reason to be prepared? He'll be even more prepared.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
good on him.
So they go next. They decide she's going to give him a longer shot. They're going to go to Joanne Fabrics. He knew exactly where it was
Oh, yeah.
because he's crafty. And he follows them to Joanne's. When they're in their store, Addison lost her cool twice picking out crafts and toys, and Sloane calmly got her back in check with kindness and respect. And this is a quote from Rafe's perspective. This is what he noticed about her parenting. So this is another check in the cinnamon roll column.
Okay.
The fact that he appreciated how she was parenting with kindness and respect, and she managed her children's tantrums.
Okay.
So I don't think, like, most guys would see that. It takes a special guy to be able to, like, pick up on a woman's parenting skills.
Well, you work with enough kids, you pick up on that pretty quick.
Right.
So,
So then they go swimming, and another cutesy thing is Avery wanted to go get. Avery was done swimming. She wanted to drink water, so they go in, and she tells him, "You have to dry off first." Like, she's telling him the rules
yeah.
that are her rules, which is really cute. And it's another.
house.
Yeah.
It's her rules for herself that her mother gave her.
Right.
So if
But
I
it's
got to do it,
cute.
you got to do it.
But it's cute the way she laid down the rules for him,
Yeah.
because he would obviously know you have to dry off your bathing suit. You can't drip water all over the house. But she has to have rules for things like that because she's 6.
Yeah.
And then when she finished drinking her water, she put the cup on the counter and looked Rafe dead in the eye and said, "I can use that later again with my lunch," which is a total, like, kid thing to do. I loved that. I loved how Rebekah Weatherspoon, like, wrote this kid, and it just shows how, like, she's such a master of human behavior. So I don't know, as a writer, I really appreciate that. As another, like, outside observer of humanity, I really appreciate that. And then we have our gross alert number 2, which I'm not even gonna quote because it was just gross. So Dr. Sloane Copeland walks in her orange bathing suit, and she looks really hot, and immediately Rafe is like, wants to do something to her, and, like, right there on the counter, and it just, like, I know she's in a bathing suit and she's wet and she's beautiful and she's young. He's just not that young. Like,
He's my age,
yeah.
34.
So I really was grossed out by that. And I shouldn't have been.
He's single though.
Ugh.
It changes things.
But the hottest thing to me, which is probably shocking that I'm a romance reader, is sexual restraint. Like,
No, you like the chase. It's not.
I
It's
do,
not
but
shocking.
a man who can, like, keep his thoughts in check, and I'm not saying be alpha about it, but, like, just don't go there with the sex thoughts yet. Like,
But you don't know
eh.
what people are thinking.
Well, you
And
do in romance because the author tells you what they're thinking.
oh, okay. I'm thinking real life here. Is this real life? You remember
Yeah. No, this is not real life. Rafe is definitely fantasy. Which brings
that?
to
Hang on. Hang on a minute.
okay,
I'm a Newton bitter.
bitte.
Whatever. Rafe is very similar to me. To I.
Yes. Yeah, that's
I
true.
was a male nanny.
Yes.
Not a like sleep in the house, live with the family male nanny, but I watched a kid multiple times a week for several years.
Yeah.
I don't have wrist to neck tattoos, but I have a tattoo.
Yeah. You have a beard.
I have a impressive beard, I've
Yeah.
been told.
Yes, you do. You
I'm not
have
ripped like Rafe is.
no, but you're really big and strong.
Yes.
And you have like really well developed. You have like way better biceps than Rafe.
How do you know?
Because if you go to Rebekah Weatherspoon's website, she has her real
She has a stock photo picture of a guy.
well, it's what inspired her to write Rafe.
Okay.
It's her inspiration for the
I
Rafe
appreciate
character.
it.
I'm not compliment. I'm just
I'm not complimenting you.
no, I'm not. I'm explaining for our listener what you look like and how you are Rafe like.
Okay. And other things he does, he cooks, he bakes. I do that stuff.
Yeah,
The only thing I can't do is repair cars.
right. Yeah.
But that's why he's a fictional character.
It's not that makes him fantastical. It's the fact that Rafe starts thinking about what can I do to make her life easier. It's like that is the forefront thought in his mind.
Okay.
Like that's what
But that's
makes
his
it
job.
fantastical. Yes.
That's his job.
Well, yeah.
I say that in job interviews. My job is to make your life easier.
Okay. But that's not what he says. Like he's not kissing her butt. He's thinking that. What can I do to make this woman's
I
life
got
easier?
you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's very cinnamon roll, but it's like yeah, okay, whatever. So he's thinking these gross sex thoughts about her on the counter when they're in their kitchen. And then the next thing, she asks him how many peanut butter and jam sandwiches does it take to satisfy a man of your size?
I called bullshit on this part.
Are you kidding?
I called bullshit on this part.
Oh, I loved this part. This is what it's like. The page before I was
This
like,
is not.
I can't read
No.
this
You
book.
and I are
This
not
is
on the
not a
same
thing.
page here.
I know. Then the next line is like, that is so astute.
Okay.
And
so
anyway, his answer is Wonder Bread sandwiches, 5. If you have some thick artisanal slices from your local Whole Foods market, I should be okay with 2.
I'm telling you right now, someone who eats 5 peanut butter and jam, it's jelly, but jam sandwiches is not ripped.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
yeah. And chicken enchiladas and cookies and brownies.
Unless they're doing intermittent fasting, eating one meal a day.
Well, we're just gonna figure he does intermittent fasting.
Fine.
That's how he's so ripped.
I eat pizza and chili cheese fries, and I'm 5% body fat because that's how my author wrote me.
It's fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't write my characters like that. I think about their
People,
caloric intake.
you cannot eat like that and look like that. It doesn't go together.
Yeah. Anyway, I really liked the banter there. So it like pulled me back into the book when like the gross, like overt sexual thoughts, it like the banter that immediately like pulled me back in. And
My
I wanted to
favorite
read
part of
more.
the book was the day to day and the non-sex conversations and thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
The sitcomness of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to my 4 of my 5 favorite shows, you'd understand why.
And then 2 pages later, the quote is, then Sloane changed the subject like he hadn't just told her he wanted to deep dick her into next week.
That
Ugh.
part made me laugh.
And this is my notes in the book
Into
said,
next week.
okay, like there's something wrong with me because I don't think like this.
Well, me neither, and it made me laugh. It wasn't.
Okay. So it
I
was,
was thinking, oh man, that's hot. It's like, what? Who says that?
oh, and then my next note is like under the quote, nasty, filthy thoughts, which I don't know what they're relating to that time. My note is ask Sarah.
Okay.
I think it's my always, she's my go-to. She's my sister and has thoughts. Um, so, okay. So we got through the cinnamon rollness, gross alerts.
By the way, we're like 10 hours in, and we're in the first chapter of the book.
No, no, this is like chapter 5 by this
Okay.
point. And the rest of it goes really fast, I promise,
Okay.
because this, like, she kind of veers from the whole, like, beats and just does her own thing.
Sure.
So then what we have, I would think, is the break into Act 2, or the adhesion plot thrust, which means, okay, we're kind of like we're attracted to each other. We're gonna see what happens. So that's what that beat means, and that's exactly what happens. He takes the nanny job while acknowledging that he's attracted to her. He tells her flat out, I'm gonna have a problem with this because I've never nannied for a single mom that I've been this attracted to. And she's like thrilled by that
Yeah, because she likes him.
because she's also very attracted to him. And she's thinking, okay, if he can handle this, we can be adults about this. I can handle this too. This is gonna be okay. So
Into next week.
yeah. So then we have another cinnamon roll thing, and this is where this Rafe is really Jonathan in disguise.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
I think I already told you about this, Jonathan, because I was so happy that somebody actually described another human being as someone like you. She's talking to her friend,
Zeni?
right? Zenny.
Zenny?
I say Zenny. I think it's Zenny.
You're probably right.
I probably am.
I'll go
right.
with you on this one. On reading.
Zenny asks about him, and Sloane responds, he's really mellow, but not a pushover.
Oh, you did say that about me.
I really appreciate that, because I was trying to describe you to my family at the Woburn funeral,
Yeah.
and I just could not.
You're trying to describe me to your family that knows me already?
But they don't really know you. Like, they've met you a few times, and they've hung out with you, and it was no, I was describing you to my cousin who's never met you.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And so they asked what my husband was like. He's really nice, and but that doesn't make you seem as much of a leader as you are. So I appreciated when she said he's really mellow but not a pushover, because you're not a pushover, but you teach tiny children for a living.
Yeah.
You're really mellow because you have to be in that job and perform it well. But yeah, you're definitely not a pushover. But you're also like big and strong and tough looking, and you have to keep your what was that quote? Your scary, mean face in check?
No. Moving on from that.
Yeah. So then they fall in love. As they're falling in love, they're establishing basically Rafe's cinnamon rollness and Sloane's attraction to a really good man. So he says his job for this week was to get a sense of Avery and Addison's rhythms and to look for areas where he could be more helpful to Sloane. So,
Yeah.
pure fantasy. You could say that, but thinking it on your off hours is a little overkill.
Yeah, but it drives home the point of what kind of guy he is. So, it's
Right.
not without merit.
Yeah. Um, Rafe's stepmom. Oh, this is one of my favorite parts. Rafe's stepmom says, "Let me go put on my face and I'll be ready to go." An hour later, I really resonated. That really resonated with me
Me too.
because I wear a lot of makeup, and I like wear a lot of makeup every time I leave the house. And I just really appreciated that other women also wear makeup, especially when they want to meet somebody. And I feel like in romance, it's just like it's unheard of for
Yeah.
a woman to put on makeup other than I'm gonna slick on some lip gloss and just throw on some mascara. And that I don't identify with that because I have like three different kinds of foundations that I blend together to make my face look normal. So I really liked that. That was just my little love for this book. And then we have some more cinnamon rollness, which is again a Jonathanism in his Boy Scout readiness. When he moves in, Rafe didn't have much to put away, just his clothes and a few toiletries. He'd deal with the rest after the twins went to sleep. He's just ready for every situation, and so is Jonathan. And Jonathan usually equates that to being an Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
So, did that resonate with you at all?
No.
Made me think of you.
No. That's just standard operations, I guess. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because you would do that. You're just ready for whatever. It's part. Maybe it's part of the type B-ness.
Yeah.
Like you're calm, but still ready.
Well,
Um,
that takes years to develop. I wasn't always ready. My type B-ness got me in not trouble, but like it took me longer to develop because of it.
yeah. Well, I have the gift of never readiness.
Yeah, you're like type F.
Yeah. He. Oh, another CR point. He takes the nanny
CR
car.
point.
Cinnamon roll.
Oh,
Yeah. He takes the nanny car to go get cleaned. And he
a
absolutely did it.
Tahoe.
Right.
He gets a free Tahoe.
Well, he drives around Sloane's Tahoe,
Yeah.
which is the car seat car. Um, he absolutely did it because this car stunk, and they had left like ham sandwiches under the seats, the
Uh-huh.
girls, because the old nanny told them to. So the car reeked,
Because
and
they
he,
got taquitos.
yeah,
She gave him shitty food and didn't want the mom to know.
yeah,
So naturally, you hide it in the car
right.
instead of just throwing it
I
away.
think she probably just would have thrown it away, but forgot
I think the old
and
nanny
quit
was a
instead.
dum dum.
Yeah, probably some kind of addict.
Yeah, because she did say she didn't get a chance to give her a good background check, and she seemed nice enough, so she hired her.
Yeah. So he takes the nanny car to get cleaned. I feel like, okay, so why he's a cinnamon roll is that he sees a job that needs to be done, and it's not exactly his responsibility, but he does it. He goes beyond.
And that's what took me a long time to understand to do.
Yes, that did. Yeah, because you were not this way in the beginning, but I think you've gotten more this way as you've grown into your 30s. I think it's a quality that you get in your 30s.
Yeah. Well,
For most people, for most men, I think you
it's
grow
not
into it.
because once you have a family, it's not about you anymore.
Right. But he doesn't have a family and he understands this, but he has been nannying for a long enough time.
Yes, it's been his job to be basically the dad.
Yeah. And And I think that's why, I mean, as a nanny, he has to be a cinnamon roll character.
Yeah.
So it's a plot device that he's like this. It makes him a great nanny, but it also makes him like really great. I mean, every guy should take the woman's car to get cleaned if it reeks. But I feel like no guys would do that. They would just be like, "Hey, your
Nah,
car."
she's the one who made it reek. And what does it smell like? I mean,
If
well,
you're trying to get in somebody's pants, then that's a
yeah,
way
that
to
could
do
help.
it. Like I will teach Hank, our son,
And it
you should be doing things like this.
depends on the reek.
Well, I mean, if there's a dead body, I don't want him covering up her
No, no.
murder.
Let's be realistic here. It's not a
Okay.
dead body. Let's talk about like an old peanut butter jelly sandwich and a protein shaker that's been in there for a month
Yeah.
with the old stuff on the bottom.
Yeah, that's gross. That needs to get thrown out because that plastic will not.
Yeah, I'm not cleaning that up. I'll clean up the sandwiches.
I'm saying the protein shake container, but if he knows her car is stinking and he finds an old protein shake container, throw it out for her.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, that's all I mean. Like I think that's important for guys to be taught. Like if you see the way that can make it's just this is how to get in a girl's pants. Like why are dudes not doing these things? Like take initiative and clean up the damn car.
Megan is shaking her fist right now.
I don't understand why it takes a romance novel to teach these things. But it's why Hank's gonna grow up reading romance novels.
I don't understand why the lady can't keep her car clean.
It
It
doesn't
wasn't her car.
matter.
It wasn't her car. Actually, that's not fair. It was the crappy old nanny's fault.
Yeah,
So
and I don't
wasn't
even think this car would stink that bad if a ham sandwich in
yeah.
a plastic baggie was left in it for like a few days. It would not smell that
It's
bad.
just for
But
context.
yeah, it's okay. So anyway, a lot of guys would be like, dude, that car stinks. You need to get it detailed. I'm not driving it until you do. I feel like that is how most guys would react
I don't
to
think
that.
so. I don't think so. All kidding aside, I probably would have taken care of that too.
Ugh, not in your 20s.
Rafe isn't in his 20s. You don't know what he would have
It's
done in
true.
his 20s.
So, and then we come back to the house, and Addison is doing a puzzle for an hour, which I really appreciate. A child that can sit and do a puzzle for an hour. We don't have that.
Nobody has that.
I was wondering about that, but I didn't want to call it out. Oh well, our friends have. Hank's best friend will sit and do a workbook until it is complete, like front to back, and
Anomaly.
she's 3. Yes. So I thought of that. I thought no kid was gonna do this. Lila would do this. That was my very next thought. So, then okay. So then I can't read my own handwriting. It looks like Halta.
Not
Oh,
surprising.
haha.
Ha ha.
Yes, that's my
Okay.
code for I thought this moment was funny.
What was it?
Oh, she admits her attraction, but with hesitation. Like, what if I find one of those mud flap girls tattooed on your arm?
Mud flap girl like you have on your arm?
Exactly. I was like, oh my gosh. Well, it's a good thing I don't need Dr. Sloan Copeland to be attracted to me.
And what?
Because I basically have
what
a
if
mud
she
flap
did?
girl. I don't know. I guess that's
If
not.
that's a deal breaker? Come on now.
Yeah. I mean, I would be a little disgusted unless it was really artistically done.
Hey, it's you. I knew that from the future.
No.
My DeLorean.
I think that's where if you had a naked woman tattooed on your arm and it was like a beautiful work of art and your tattooist was amazingly creative with it, it's fine. If you have some like, ugh, I don't even know. I can't even think of a bad. I think like naked women are pretty much always well tattooed on people.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I can't think of why that would be a bad thing, but Dr. Sloan Copeland does because she's very cerebral.
And if this whole thing works out, and she doesn't like it, he can get one over it.
What?
It
Oh,
he can just get another one over it.
yeah.
Not a big deal.
So the ultimate cinnamon roll gesture, which is why everybody loves this book.
We need better chairs. This chair sucks.
Yeah. All right, ultimate cinnamon roll thing. She is wondering what their relationship is going to be and is thinking about sex with him. And he says, well, we don't need to make this a whole thing. We can just play it by ear and maybe make each other a deal. A deal? Yeah, if you're not feeling comfortable, you tell me. And if I'm not feeling comfortable, I'll tell you. He's so emotionally with it.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have to grow. That's like
Well, that's just being an adult. 34 years on the planet, and he's probably been dating for 20 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Has, had his heart broken, has broken some hearts. So it's not his first rodeo.
Yeah.
And he knows what he wants.
Yeah. But most, well, we haven't gotten into the alphas yet.
Okay.
So we can't contrast Rafe very well because you don't know how alphas are.
I don't know how alphas are.
Which I created my own definition of an alpha, which is on one of my 6 pages of notes. No, it's not anywhere in my notes because I thought I would remember what my definition was, and I just wrote down. I figured out my definition.
Well, you told me
alpha.
It's the guy. It's basically Rafe without the emotional stability.
Yes, but what that looks like in a romance is, it has nothing to do with his motorcycles or his jackedness or the fact that he's over 6'3", or the fact all of these qualities are generally attributed to alphas, but they can be attributed to betas and cinnamon rolls too. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
What makes an alpha in a romance novel is they're going to deny their attraction.
Okay, I got you.
And no matter how much they really feel like the heroine is like their one and only, they're gonna deny that even harder. Like an alpha will deny that hard. And
so they can get with more girls.
No, so they can go on being the Duke of whateverdom, or because they can't marry a commoner and whatever in a historical, or so that they can, or because they're so traumatized, or they have some history of past abuse.
Okay.
Or a bad breakup.
Sure.
That really hurt them and they don't want to fall in love again. So the more love they feel towards the heroine, the greater their denial. So that's basically what makes an alpha an alpha. And I don't read a lot of alphas because I don't know. And I think it also depends on when they overturn that denial.
Okay.
Because the whole point is breaking the alpha, which when the girl gets, why people love alpha so much is because they love to see that overturning of the denial.
Okay.
Because wouldn't you want to be the one that like got into that heart of stone and like crushed it to bits?
You changed him.
It's not about...
You saved him.
No, it's not that, I don't think.
No?
No.
That's what you just said.
It's not, but no, it's not changing. It's getting him to admit his love for you. And
okay.
And it just seems like the love is more all-encompassing.
All right.
When it comes from an alpha that you broke and only you can break. Like he's gonna be yours forever. Like there's always a happy ever after. There's not happy for now. That's important. So Rafe is not an alpha because he doesn't have that denial. When he feels an emotion, when he feels attraction, he says, "I'm attracted to you. I don't know how this is gonna work out, but I just want you to know that I'm attracted to you because I want to be upfront about my emotions." So then he says later on, which is how he's not an alpha. Okay, let's nail this out once and for all. I'm not a, what's the right word here? I'm a tall white dude with a bunch of tattoos, aka Jonathan, except he's kind of
I'm not.
brown.
I'm kind of brown.
Well, you're mostly brown.
I'm Greek and Puerto Rican. I'm very brown.
Yeah, you look like you look Arabic.
Yes.
I know how that freaks people out. I've also spent my whole life being calm and gentle with children. It's all right to just be a calm, gentle guy. And so he already knows that about himself. And then later on, he says, "Okay, let's forget about texts and pretending we're not attracted to each. We're pretending we're not attracted to each other until one of us cracks. I like you, Sloane. Period. I'm calm and I'm gentle, but I'm not about the bullshit. I'm also not looking for some reason not to like you." That is the definition of a cinnamon roll.
He's not looking for a reason to not like her.
Right.
So that makes him not an alpha.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Yes.
Understand now.
Okay. And we're going to try to read an alpha. I was going to say we're going to try to read an alpha next, but I'm not as familiar with an African American author who wrote an alpha. So I have to do more research.
Because we're coming into February.
Because we're going into February, and we're participating in the reading blackout.
Yeah.
So we're reading all books by African American authors, possibly an African British author, but I haven't decided yet.
I'm down for that.
So
Okay.
There's a scene where they are making out and other stuff on the couch, watching John Wick, and they get interrupted by one of her children. So her children's like calling from the hallway, "Mommy," and they stop. And I think every other, the tendency is to create a really angsty scene after that, and have a, okay, we almost got caught, so now it's the time to rethink our relationship. And that's getting really boring to me when I read genre fiction. I guess it's romance is the only genre that does that, but I feel like other genres do as well. It's just an unnecessary moment of angst. And that's what Rebekah Weatherspoon did not do here. She doesn't have that moment. Like, they come back together texting each other later and say, "Sorry for the interruption." They're just so adult and mature about it. And they don't have to, like, well, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. They don't ever have that moment. And it's great. That's why this is a fluff book.
I appreciated that big time about this book.
Yeah, me too.
That movie, The Holiday, I liked a lot because there wasn't really that
Angst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And not that I have anything against the angst. It makes it for a good story sometimes, but it was nice to not have that sometimes too.
It is.
Just like a little break.
Yeah, it's a comforting read.
Yes.
So the midpoint, I think, in this book is when Rafe...
Oh.
Yes.
She was talking about violence in movies, where this is where Sloane and I actually connected.
Yes.
Because
that reminded me of you.
She liked violence, like outlandish action hero choreographed fighting scenes, but not stuff like Saw, which I've never seen any of the Saw movies. I've never seen Human Centipede. I don't like that stuff.
Yeah.
I like the horror movies that are thrillers, that are more like ghosty movies, not so much hack 'em up Texas Chainsaw movies. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But John Wick, I'll watch John Wick 100 times. I love that stuff.
Yeah. I love anything with blood.
So you like Saw?
Yeah.
Ugh, gross.
Well, I just read an article. I like reading horror better than watching horror, but I just read an article about how horror can help you with depression and anxiety.
Okay.
And it's like this new, it wasn't a study that they've done. They've just talked to people about how horror can make you process grief a lot better than like watching rainbows and sunshine. And
Because it's happened to someone else.
well, I think it's like, yes, because it's happening to somebody else. And you
So
see
you're like, I'm
people.
not alone.
I see. Well, I don't think it's that. I think, well, this death is way more graphic than what I just experienced
Oh, okay.
in my grief.
Yeah.
Like, it actually helps people. And I think it's the same thing with, like, the whole death positivity movement that I'm really into. Um, Denying death. I know this is a romance podcast. I'm trying not to go into this too deeply, but denying death, like covering it up, embalming it, scenting it sweetly, and doing all these like horrific things to dead bodies so that they can be displayed in an open casket viewing and look like they're just sleeping, actually prevent people from starting the mourning process sooner. So they have a harder time getting over it when dead bodies don't look like corpses. But when a dead body looks dead, you are more apt to start the grieving process and begin your mourning. And it's not like dead bodies decompose like they're refrigerated. They decompose at the same rate as an embalmed body. They don't look like rotting and disgusting. They just look
Lifeless.
lifeless. Yeah. But all these like plumping things up with the cheeks and the eyeballs, they I don't know, they're bad. But horror is kind of similar to that. Horror, like facing death can help you deal with death better. Anyway, that's my subspecialty.
Maybe a different podcast that I'm not involved with.
No, I'm not going to do a podcast. I just write books about it.
Okay.
So the midpoint in Rafe.
Midpoint.
In this fluffy, non-death book. Midpoint is, I guess, when Rafe considers that Sloane might need to be with someone slightly more successful in business.
It's a fleeting thought.
It's a fleeting thought. And his friend, like, brings it up and he said, nah, I'm good for her.
Yeah.
Which is how it is. I mean, he is great for her. Like, he should be a stay-at-home dad and raising her kids. Like, they complement each other. And yeah, you normally see doctors and lawyers together and people who, I mean, it's more common for people who make the same amounts of money, basically, to
or at least the same education
be
level.
with each other.
The
Yeah.
same earning power.
Yes. But it's a much more practical situation, and Rafe sees it, and Dr. Sloane Copeland sees it. And Monica, Rafe's stepmom, lays out some rules for Rafe in keeping her heart protected. Did we mention Dr. Sloane Copeland is black?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's like necessary to mention, but it's a thing. Like, I don't, like, Rafe has to learn how to like care for African American hair.
But he'd know how to do that because of his sisters.
He knew how to do that because of his sisters and his stepmother is black, and he knew how to.
And he watched. That's how he got into nannying.
Yes.
Was watching his baby sisters.
Yes.
And he got good at it. And his mom recommended him to another family to help out.
Mm-hmm.
Or his stepmom. His mom passed away, and that's why they moved to California from Woodburn. So him and his dad just got in the car and drove away from Massachusetts, and he met his stepmom. They had babies, and that's how he got into that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Dr. Copeland is an African American lady.
Yeah, I feel like I've been picturing that in my mind the whole time, but I didn't ever think to describe her.
Yeah.
Other than that she's beautiful. So anyway, that's probably important, but you should just know. She's beautiful and black. And so Monica lays out some rules for Rafe in making sure that Rafe keeps Dr. Copeland's heart protected, essentially, which I think is kind of condescending.
Yeah.
But moms are meddlers.
Yeah.
She basically says, like, this is a black woman, so you have to, like, be really sensitive to her needs. But I feel like that was totally unnecessary because Rafe has been nothing but sensitive to her needs. and he understands the
Overly
African.
sensitive to her
Yeah.
needs.
And then the girls ask if Rafe can be their daddy when he goes back to the Dr. Sloan Copeland's house. And Rafe and Sloan are like, oh gosh, what do we say? And then they just decide to be honest and say all the steps that need to happen before he becomes their daddy. But they're not even thinking that way. He's not going to be their daddy. But just in case, this is all the crap that needs to happen. They need to decide to date. They need to like each other. They need to kiss. They need to get married. They need to do all this. Yeah, it's a lot. So they say it's not going to happen. But that gets them thinking, but that would be so great if Rafe was just their daddy.
Yeah.
Because their daddy sucks and we don't like
He
him.
does suck.
And
what's his name?
Drew. Yeah.
Drew.
And then he says he's talking about his dad and Dr. Sloan. I don't know why I call her Dr. Sloan Copeland. It's Sloan, but to me she's Dr. Sloan Copeland. Sloan says she's talking to Rafe about how nice Rafe is. And Rafe says, I don't see myself as nice. I'm just not jacked up on suppressed rage. So he's talking about his background, and he went to juvie. He for stealing cars, but it was juvie. His record was expunged, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's been like out of crime since then. He hasn't really done anything bad. He's been nannying since then. So he learned to talk to his father.
He learned how to fix cars. That's what got him out of it.
Yes, because his friend Hector kind of took him under his wing. And...
No, Hector was in juvie too.
Oh, that's right.
Monica set them up with her cousin who owned the garage.
Oh, yeah.
And he taught them everything about fixing cars.
Yes. So he set him on the path to righteousness. And he learned to speak openly about his feelings with his dad. So his crazy Massachusetts dad is also probably a cinnamon roll if we got to see him in Monica's relationship. And so he's talking about he has people that he can talk to, and it's not a bad thing for men to talk about their feelings. So he's basically flat out says why he's a cinnamon roll.
How West Coast of him.
How cinnamon roll of him. He's not jacked up on suppressed rage like alphas, essentially. So that's coming at the end. There really is no bad guys close in, or there's not much of an act 3.
No.
It's just their relationship, their love for each other. Dr. Sloan and Rafe's love deepens.
Drew comes in.
Drew comes in at the end. Like at the 85% mark.
Where normally things start falling apart.
We're normally with the relationship. Yeah, they're tight as can be. Yeah. They are really into each other.
The whole time I was reading, like, how is this going to fall apart?
I know, me too.
How is she going to spin this? And she didn't.
I know.
It just didn't.
I know, it was great. It was such a comfort read for that reason. So Drew, the ex-husband, flies in. The girls go on vacation not vacation. They go on their visitation weekend that they have once a month with their father.
And Drew, to characterize him, he's your typical worst case scenario in a doctor type, God complex, controlling, manipulative. I guess not really necessarily doctors. Anyone can be like that, but doctors get the God complex. Yeah. I think.
And he was emotionally abusive to Sloan when they were together.
Yeah, but I don't think that has to do with him being a doctor. He's just being a dick.
Oh no, but we're establishing the fact that he's a dick.
And he's also a doctor of the same cardiologist. Is
cardiothoracic, yeah.
And he has a private practice, which he wanted her to work at in Seattle.
Because she's more talented than him.
She's more talented, and he could control her.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And he also admitted that he never wanted his children.
Yes.
And he admits it again.
He only had them to keep her around.
Yes. And he only wants visitation, or he only wants even partial custody to keep control of her however he possibly can. So he decides he's going to...
He's the opposite of Rafe.
Yeah. He's not even an alpha. He's just a dick. Like, you wouldn't even write a book about him.
No.
I guess he can be redeemed somehow. Everyone can be redeemed, but not
Yeah.
in romance. Like, this. He needs to go through some stuff before he can get redemption, and I don't want to see it. So the girls fly up. The girls fly up to Seattle to visit him. They have a terrible weekend. They
Well, probably not. They probably spent.
no,
Oh, they did have a terrible
because
weekend because he actually tried to be a dad. Didn't just dump him on her.
on
Dump
his
him on his
mom.
mom.
Yeah, and they said that they saw Rafe kissing mommy.
Yeah.
So he flies into a rage, and he flies with them from Seattle. He doesn't just stick him on a plane and send him home.
Which
He
is what he
flies,
typically does.
yeah, he flies back into what, L.A., San
L.A.
Francisco,
L.A.
L.A. He flies back with his girls, and just immediately he sees Rafe waiting to pick up his girls at the airport. He's there with Sloane, and he just like he assaults Rafe.
Well, he tries to assault
yeah,
Rafe.
he tries to assault Rafe, but Rafe gets
Rafe like defends himself without punching him,
yeah.
which is cool because he doesn't get arrested.
Yep.
Because people who look like us tend to not get the benefit of the doubt.
Well, Rafe doesn't look like you. Oh, you're saying you look like the brown one.
No.
What?
Like big, bearded, tattooed,
Oh, yes.
troublemaker looking people.
Yeah.
So he uses some Steven Seagal Aikido, using his own momentum against him stuff, and gets him into like a armbar and just tells him he's gonna break his arm or something if he keeps trying to hit him.
Uh-huh. So the police come, they break up the fight. Rafe and Sloane go home with the girls. The girls are crying because they had to see their dad like that. And they had to
They
see,
learn that their dad is just an a-hole.
yeah. And they didn't like him to begin with.
Yeah.
But Sloane sticks up for them. She calls Drew and said, "You're not going to see the girls until they want to see you," which is awesome. And Rafe and Sloane are a little skittish about Drew, but
Well, at this point, Rafe has to come down.
yes,
He's in the red.
he's amped up on adrenaline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes on a long motorcycle ride, goes and talks to his dad, probably goes to the beach.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he was in a fight.
Yeah. So that's basically the last thing.
He comes home, and they basically settle it that they are in it together.
They're together. They're working on that path to daddyship.
Yeah.
They tell the girls. The girls love it. They love him.
They love him more than their own dad.
Yep. 6 months later, he resigns being their nanny, and then the next day he proposes.
Yep.
And it's so happy and wonderful. And then in the epilogue, they have...
It's 3 years later.
It's 3 years later.
They have a little boy.
Yep.
I'm assuming he's a boy.
Yeah.
Rowan.
Yes.
And it's just a happy family.
Yeah, with lots of sex.
Yeah.
But it's okay now because they know each other.
Yeah.
So it's not so... It's not so empty.
Book boner level for you?
1.
1.
Yeah, I
And
know.
that's not a knock on it. It just didn't resonate with me, that stuff.
Yeah, I mean the sex scenes were good, but if there was more romantic build up, I think I like more angst.
Yeah.
When it comes to a sex book, I need more angst. Like this book turned me off. Or yeah, it turned me off like so much more than some like hardcore erotic fiction that I've read. Like I've read Priest, and that is one of my favorite books. And that is a BB5. And like Sierra Simone writes some like crazy sexual encounters, and that did not turn me off, but this did. And this is like so tame compared to that. So it's not like the sex that's in it that skeeved me out. It's like the thinking about sex before they know each other skeeved
Yeah.
me out, because that's just not
It just seems
attractive to me.
forced to me.
It didn't seem forced. I know people think like that. And I think that's where I'm like way more romantic than I am sexual. And like, I don't know. There's like this demisexual angle. Like, do you know what a demisexual is? Because I just looked it up. This is my queerness research.
No.
Like, you have to have an emotional bond before you are sexually attracted to someone.
Mm.
I don't think it's considered.
I think all this stuff is on the spectrum, though.
It is. Yeah, of course it is.
And
but there's not just one spectrum.
okay.
Like, Kinsey had a spectrum, like, of how people are bisexual on a spectrum. And it goes from, like, 1 to 6.
Yeah.
1 being, like, you don't even think the same sex as you, like, are attractive at all. Like, aesthetically, visually appealing.
Oh.
Like, to sex being, you don't think the opposite sex is visually appealing. But there's not just one line. It's like a cross, and there's probably some diagonals and some, like, yeah, it's like this whole,
which makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, but overall, I really liked the book a lot.
Yeah, and that really surprised me.
The banter. I like the day-to-day stuff. I like them getting ready for the day. His conversations with his dad were cool.
Yeah,
his conversations with his stepmom were cool. The fight with her and Drew I liked. It's just all the sex stuff I could have. If that wasn't in there, I wouldn't have missed it.
Yeah. And you're a little bit prudish when it comes to your entertainment.
Yeah.
Like, you do not like to watch sex scenes, like graphic sex scenes.
No.
You like to, like, you'd be happy fast forwarding through them.
Absolutely.
Like, I like to see it because I see a lot of character development happening in the sex scenes.
How?
Because that's when people really fall in love. Is when they have that physical encounter. It doesn't have to be penetrative sex, because that's like bullshit. But
they start kissing, they close the door. You know what happened in there.
No, because you have to see the falling in love, and that happens in bed.
The kiss was the falling in love, and then they close the door.
No.
And it's private.
No. I guess, I don't know. I like to see, like, the gritty parts of the world. And I think, I don't know. That's why I like blood. Same reason I like to watch sex scenes. It's the grit. It's like I don't know. Like the best and the worst of humanity combined.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like the violence and stuff.
I know.
But, yeah. Overall, great book. Pick it up and read it if you haven't read it.
Yes. Again, the author is Rebekah Weatherspoon.
And she has a series of books.
Well, she has several series.
Sorry.
I've only read Rafe. And next she has the next book in this series, the Loose Ends series, is Zenny's book.
Yeah.
And Zenny is super cool because she's a witch. So I don't know if you got that.
On that.
Okay.
Yes, of course I did.
You could get little hints of it from Rafe, but Zenny's a side character. She's important. She's a kindergarten teacher and a witch.
And very hilarious.
Yes. So her book is next, and I know it's a forced marriage. It's a forced proximity book. So we might have to read that
Yeah,
soon.
I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe in the summertime.
Okay. Okay, so next month we are reading, for sure, Alyssa Cole's A Prince on Paper.
Okay.
Which is one of the everyone's top favorite books of 2019, which we're working on our backlog of reading the best romances ever made. And we might read a Beverly Jenkins. I'm reading Beverly Jenkins right now, and she's like flown to the very top of my list of favorite authors. So I'm really excited by that.
Right now, I'm reading book 2 of the Archer's Tale series by Bernard
Cromwell.
the same guy who wrote the Saxon Chronicles or Saxon Stories, which is Last Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a hard time starting this book. I think I have to read the first chapter over.
Really?
Yeah, I just was thinking about other things.
Oh.
I didn't know what I was reading.
Yeah. Sometimes a new start is all it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a blog post about what to do if you're in a book coma.
Yeah.
So you might want to read that.
Of course I'll read that. All right. Well, I think that's all we got for you today.
Yeah. If you have questions, I'll probably put some links to things like the Melissa Fabello article, and the links to the book in my website, www.meganolivaria.com. And it's if you click on the link in our podcast, it should take you right there, and our show notes will be up there.
And hopefully everything sounds better because we got our fancy thing that hooks up our microphones to the computer and a new software. So hopefully it sounds better. And editing will take learning because this is professional equipment and I am not a professional person or professional at.
And we have tasked Jonathan with the editing of the podcast.
Yeah. So we'll see. Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.